Luton, a town located just northwest of London. Its airport is one of the most popular in the country, and yet the mainstream retailers are closing. So, despite the current challenges facing the UK's high street post-lockdown, why are Luton's small businesses flourishing? Here, at the heart of George Street, AUK Radio are going to find out from small business owners their struggle during and post-lockdown. First, I speak with the owner of the Greenfields restaurant, a well-established small business in Luton's mall. How has lockdown affected the Greenfields restaurant?
To be fair, it's starting to come back to normal now. But the first lockdown after that, we was obviously unsure how business would resume, and even after the first lockdown finished, business wasn't coming back, as we expected it to be. And then after this last lockdown, gradually people have started coming. I think we come out of lockdown on the 17th of May fully. That the restrictions was kind of eased majorly then, and it's taken up until now really to get it to what we're used to. So it's still not there yet, but it's getting there. It's going in the right direction anyway. So.
Do you think that the variety of takeaway online ordering systems is making an impact on your business?
Because we're a daytime kind of business, cafe business, I'd say most takeaways are at night. Even myself, like with I don't know if I can mention Just Eat and Deliveroo, Uber Eats. We've looked into that ourselves. Being a daytime business, I'm not sure coming out of lockdown if it's a profitable thing, but I think maybe. I mean, Greg's, like the big names are getting into the takeaway food now, so it would be interesting to see really the numbers and statistics of how well they're doing in the daytime. But because we're not an evening restaurant, we don't really feel the effect too much of that, I don't think.
You're one of the long-standing business owners in Luton. Why do you think small businesses are flourishing while mainstream retailers are closing?
Well, you look outside the shop and you see Debenhams and M&S have shut down recently. I mean, Costa's just shut down downstairs. I think the bigger the company seems to be, the harder it feels during these kind of hard times, during like a lockdown or a coronavirus. Obviously, nobody really sees it coming, but I think the bigger you are, the actual is harder it is to manage. You have to shut a lot of shops. Even before then, they were kind of struggling. So this kind of tipped a lot of those big companies over the edge. And you're lucky, like you said, we've been here for a long time, so we've got quite a loyal customer base. You know what I'm saying? And it's familiar faces that have started to come back. So it's nice. Obviously, unfortunately, we lost some along the way. But it's nice to see the regulars back as well. So.
We also spoke with a stall owner in the indoor market, which had to remain closed throughout the lockdown. I understand the indoor market was closed during lockdown. How has this impacted your business?
There was a very bad impact on business because we was closed for a while. The first time we was closed almost 1.5 month, and the second time almost 3 months. And we have lost so many customers. That was a bad impact.
Once the lockdown had lifted, how quickly has business returned to the indoor market?
It is recovering, but very slowly,
Yeah.
because we was having most of our old customers, they eat the traditional food, and they're still not confident to come. They're still scared about the COVID.
Lastly, we spoke with another local small business owner. Tell me, how has lockdown affected your business?
Right, well, I have to say that lockdown did seriously affect our business. Right from the outset, around March, April last year, we were actually doing quite well at that time. We'd gained 1 or 2 new accounts, and we were ready to go with some new contractors. And literally, before the ink had dried, those contracts got cancelled. The projects that they were supposed to be working on got cancelled or postponed. And it literally took the carpet out from under us. So it definitely had a big impact. As well as that, people who we already had on the books were being asked to have their rates reduced. So we were right down to a skeleton income.
And how did you prepare for when lockdown lifted?
Right, so the important thing was nobody knew at that time. There was a lot of uncertainty. Nobody knew how long this would go on. Initially we thought, well, maybe it will only be for a matter of weeks or a month or 2. And so, we weren't too worried about it. But as it became clear that this thing wasn't going to go away quickly, then we had to make important decisions. So the key thing for us was we knew that these projects were going to come back at some point. We're in the middle of a cloud revolution here, which is probably one of the biggest things in IT since the internet, and we supply to cloud projects, so we know sooner or later it's going to come back. So we had to stick with it. So we planned our resources. We took advantage of some of the government schemes, which I have to say were very helpful. We were able to put a couple of employees on furlough. We were able to take advantage of some of the funding that was being offered, and that was important because that gave us the confidence to know that when it was time to come back, we'd be ready, and we know we'd be able to take advantage of it.
And how has remote working affected your business?
So remote working, well, there's two aspects for us for remote working. The first aspect is our internal employees. Now we didn't use much of the remote working for our employees because the employees that we did have were mostly put on furlough, and the reason for that is, one, the business wasn't there, and two, we're a very interactive environment in the office, and we do struggle. Well, we would have struggled to use remote working effectively. Not that we couldn't have done it, but it wouldn't be as effective. The other part of the equation is, as we've all seen, remote working has become more acceptable amongst employers. So the people that we place are often remote workers, and they had to be during the lockdown period. And even now, the employers are far more open to accepting people for remote work, and that means that's a great advantage also to the employers, because it means that these people could be anywhere. They don't have to be on the doorstep of the offices that they're working in. They could be anywhere in the country, so it can be an advantage.
And what changes do you want to see happen in Luton High Street?
So Luton High Street, I mean, we've already seen changes happening, whether good or bad. One of the things I'd personally like to see there is that even though lockdown has been lifted, I think some of the habits that we've learned in the last few months would go a long way, and I think we really need to preserve them. So things like social distancing, keeping a little bit of distance between people, because you never know when the next thing's going to turn up or the next virus is going to attack. So little things like that. In terms of the actual shops and things, we've also we've seen some of the big stores closing, our local stores, our Debenhams and other household names seem to be disappearing. But on the upside, I think it would be good if we got a variety of small local shops, maybe replacing the household names. And when you want the household names, you do your online shopping. And when you want to go out or spend the day out shopping, you go and you get a variety of small shops, maybe.
Yep. As you can see, Luton's High Street has been hit hard by the pandemic and the lockdowns that followed. However, this will not be the end of it, but perhaps the beginning of something better.